Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another VMware Cloud Customer Success Team webinar. This one is going to be on a update for what we saw at VMworld EMEA. There were a few fairly big announcements snuck in there. I'm your host again, and I'll be presenting today, Matt Vandenbeld, Principal Architect in our Customer Success Team. As always, everybody is muted. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A or in the Twitch chat, and I'll get to them as they come up. I prefer to answer kind of questions as we go along. As per usual, we have the usual disclaimer. Any kind of forward-facing and forward-thinking and discussions are subject to change, and that things might be affected on final delivery, but there is a lot of stuff that's available today. So let's get right into it. So our vision really hasn't changed here in the past, 5 years, I think, is where we came up with this any app, any device, any application, any cloud. And we're continuing to drive forward on that vision, and we'll get into a little bit more as we go along here. As we continue to deliver on this message, and we haven't wavered at all from our commitment to delivering this. So what does that kind of look like from a product standpoint, right? We've started with the build, okay, right? So this is kind of the developer side of things, where we've made some key acquisitions and some key developments. Heptio, Bitnami, are ones that we've acquired relatively recently. PKS is something that's been in development for a while, that runs the Pivotal platform. Pivotal has been around for quite a long period as well. And then Run, of course, this is where VMware's bread and butter is, and we're absolutely the best in the market. In other words, the best in the market at everything. But this is where the core of our platform is, with vSphere, vSAN, VMware Cloud, VMware Cloud Foundation, VMware Cloud on Dell EMC now as well, and our VMware Cloud Provider Program, VCPP. And then we move over to manage, right? So we have the vRealize suite that includes all of our operations, Wavefront, network and insight, log intelligence, all these kinds of things. Workspace ONE, which is an acquisition kind of we made quite a few years ago that we've really integrated and is really a leader in the marketplace. Cloud Health is another acquisition I think we made a year ago, 2 years ago maybe, that really gives some more visibility across the clouds to help you manage it. And then we have the Connect part with NSX, which we have been in development for a number of years now. Velo Cloud, AVI Networks, or Avi Networks, is a recent acquisition that is being further integrated into our suite as well. And then we go forward to the Protect side with AppEvents, which is a relatively new product, a couple years old. Really fantastic. Secure State, another relatively new. And then we just had the acquisition of Carbon Black, which has already got some integrations with some of those other products, but we're going to continue to drive that going forward. So when we kind of look back at the history of VMware, and I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of a framework for where we came from to kind of see where we're going. So version 1 was the hypervisor, right? That was just plain old ESX. That was 20 years ago, give or take, now. And then we moved into virtual infrastructure. For those of us that have been around for quite a while, we remember that turning things from ESX to VI. I think it was VI3 is when we kind of coined that term. We had ESXi now, the integrated one that was a much smaller delta with vCenter, and we wrapped it all in what we called vSphere. Then we moved up to the software-defined data center, and we kind of coined that term. And we've really built that around the VMware Cloud Foundation with vRealize now, with vSAN, NSX, and vSphere. And now what we're into is in, I guess, V4, is the Meta Cloud, right? So this is now VMware Cloud Services on top of your local DC, so on premises, the edge devices through a partner program, running it on AWS and VMware Cloud on AWS, running AWS native, running it on Azure. There's a lot of VCPP partners out there that run our stack, and our virtual cloud network. Right, so we call it multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. There's a lot of different terms for this, but we're kind of running with the hybrid cloud. I really like this guy's slide because this kind of goes through history, and I hope some people have recognized the MUI. That was our first interface. Then we moved up to the web client, a little bit maligned. I think that we had our vSphere C# client, FAT client, or whatever we called it at the time. And then we went to our vSphere Web Client, and then we went to the SDC Manager UI. And now what we're really bringing to the forefront here is the VMware Cloud Console and Tanzu Mission Control. So we'll go a little bit more into Tanzu a little bit later on. But this now gives you visibility across on-premises, native AWS resources, native Azure, our stuff running on Azure, all those kinds of things into kind of one place. And then you have the Tanzu Mission Control, which is more for developer kind of role and lens to see their applications and then be able to easily see and deploy them where they need to be. And again, just a little bit of a digital transformation, which I know is kind of an industry catchphrase right now, but you could actually quite clearly see it from when VMware was founded in 1998 to where we are today with all of the major milestones we have. But you can definitely see how much we're ramping up into that multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, developer-centric type, and while keeping in mind the enterprisability and administration as we continue to move forward through the timeline. Now, this slide is very, very busy, but it actually goes to show the absolute breadth of services and products that VMware delivers. All right, so there's a few new pieces in there. Some of them are highlighted in green of stuff that we've been working on, and orange is stuff that's kind of a little bit very, very new, and some of it's still coming, and we'll talk about those a little bit more. But there is an incredible amount of stuff out there, and that's why there's guys like me and the customer success team and all of your other VMware counterparts that really can help you through this quite complex world. And it's actually just going to get a little bit more complex in products, but what we're doing is really abstracting that and making it easy to use with products like Tanzu or vRealize to not have to delve into all of these separate products, but to be able to manage all of these in a very consistent and secure fashion. So one of the big announcements we kind of had on stage as well in EMEA, and we talked about this a little bit in VMworld US as well, is there is Azure VMware Solutions. VMware HDX runs on that. I want to be kind of clear here as there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace around VMware Cloud on AWS. So the VMware Cloud part of that is a managed service delivered by VMware. Right, so that's something where we manage all of the infrastructure for you and all of your maintenance type activities, whereas Azure VMware Solutions is managed by our partners. So there's a couple partners right now that do that today, but they manage it. So it's not VMware managed. So that's whenever time you hear the VMware Cloud moniker, that means VMware is managing it. When you kind of see these Azure VMware Solutions and other cloud providers that we'll see a little bit later, it's really kind of it's a partner run thing, so there's a very kind of separate offering there, even in how it's acquired and stuff. But the main point is that it's still running the VMware stack, so your virtual machines that you run on premises today or in VMware Cloud on AWS will run no problem on Azure VMware Solutions. But we continue to do go all in with this partnership with Microsoft, as we've added partnerships with a lot of other companies as well. So we have Azure SQL 2019 on vSphere, and we're working with them on Azure to the Edge with some of the Dell technologies we have, and VMware Workspace ONE or Microsoft Endpoint Manager, right? So we are continuing to work with our partners as well as compete with them on some fronts, but we're really becoming the ubiquitous layer around multi-clouds, right? Whether you're running in Azure or GCP or any of those, VMware is kind of that glue that runs across it and holds it all together for your enterprise. So talking a little bit about Edge, I won't go too much into this, but Edge is becoming more and more prevalent in the marketplace, getting compute out to where your information is gathered to do analysis there, and then to bring a lot of that data back into the cloud so that you can do some really good analysis on it. Right, so we have Thin Edge, which is Pulse IoT Center with NSX SD-WAN by VeloCloud. A medium edge, which adds a little bit more processing to it, right? So we're running an ESXi host, so you can run more applications there at the edge, again, to get those better analytics at the point of delivery. And then we have, I guess, thick edge, and again, I'm not really sure about these monikers, but this is where we have our NFV offerings. So this is our network function virtualization. This is very big for the telcos, and this is stuff that we would drop in cell tower type technologies to deliver, again, even more services out to that edge to get better analytics, better processing, better responsiveness to your customer base. Now we'll switch gears a little bit. We'll talk about security. So we have, a lot of stuff kind of going on here, and I'll just kind of build out this slide where really the security estate is continuing to evolve, and there's more and more deltas and more aspects and points of attack surfaces that really need to kind of be addressed, right? So there's your workloads, your cloud, the network layer, identity management, endpoint management. But we're really starting to build that, what we call that intrinsic security layer, right? So vSphere Platinum, which includes stuff like App Defense, now includes Carbon Black, Secure State for the cloud, NSX at the network layer with Carbon Black, right? Endpoint Security Workspace 1. So we're really building out that story around what we could do. And the best part about this is we're also highly leveraging our partners in the security ecosystem to really assist us in delivering that intrinsic security and working with products that you already have and have maybe put a significant amount of investment in already, but to get the integrations and get the best out of those products in tandem with our products to really give you a full view of your security estate. So again, like we announced at just slightly before VMworld US, the intent to acquire Carbon Black, and since then that deal has gone through. So Carbon Black is an owned entity of VMware now, and they really bring a unique kind of approach to how security is kind of done, right? So they've evolved it so now that you have this large kind of cloud aggregation of everything that's out there in the world. So you could really get very good analysis by millions of endpoints. It says here, I think there's a little slide that goes in a little bit more into that, but it brings in all of that information and is able to do a very good assessment on what is good, and what we need to look out for. So it's next gen antivirus, right? Let's do nothing like change control, workload visibility, vulnerability management, right? So this is stuff that is integrated with our app defense, without app encryption, that really gives you a very, very, very confident stance in security, because you have the information of millions of endpoints to help you to make decisions on what is good, as opposed to not necessarily what is bad, but you have both of those wrapped into the product. All right, so multi-purpose, multi-app, user-controlled, user endpoint, right? So this, again, there's growing sophistication of attacks, and it really needs to be dealt with. And there's also so many devices out there now that need to be looked after, right? The other big part of this, too, is automation and remediation, or auditing and remediation. So being able to report to your policyholders, your security teams, compliance entities, that you are secure, right? This is almost as important as being secure, as being able to say you are secure and prove it in a reasonable manner. And what we have for solution offers really brings that to it. Next gen antivirus, again, this is a lexicon of trying to, known good versus assumed bad. So it's something that we really try to work forward on and really drive that new model through to do some, device learning and stuff, and get ahead of the attack surfaces. Right, so I talked a little bit about this, but you can sort of, remote shell, any protected endpoint, full investigations, remediation, and on-demand query of all endpoints to understand the current state. So I do see the question. I'll get to that in a second there, Ronan. Again, next generation AV, the strongest ransomware protection. That seems to be where kind of the industry, or I guess not the industry, well, I suppose it's the industry of malicious attacks is moving towards, is ransoming people for their data. So that's something that we incredibly need to get to. And automated detection and response to all of your endpoint out there in the wild to be able to fully secure the rest of the environment. So again, we talked quite a bit about this, but one agent in an endpoint, you get all of this greatness of the Carbon Black cloud that we have behind it. I won't go too much into the workspace security, so we could kind of spend some more time a little bit later on. But Workspace ONE Intelligence, Carbon Black delivered with that automated remediation really gives a very good solution. We have this available now. If you follow that link at the bottom, um, it will so you get a free trial of a lot of these services, so you can see how they work in your environment. Now, moving on a little bit to app defense, I'll build out this slide because there's quite a few animations to it. But App Defense is a fantastic product that we came out with, again, like I said, a couple of years ago. And again, what this is really working on is known good versus known bad, right? So there's able to do checksum analysis on applications running to see if there's any kind of modification that's been made to them from that known good state. So even though it looks like, the proper application, somebody had maliciously modified it to do something else, that could all be detected by App Defense. And it leverages a context to protect the workload. So what is this application normally doing? Where is it usually normally run? Now it's doing something different, and then being able to action upon that as well. Right. So again, we continue to talk to it. We provision inventory. We could do application verification before it goes. Is it normal? Is it a normal change? And being able to protect it from there. Right, so here's some of the automated things you can do. You can quarantine it, you can block it, suspend it, the virtual machine, you can snapshot it as well. So snapshotting is actually a fantastic ability, and it's something that's very, quite often, very highly overlooked, is to be able to do those forensics. Is you can snapshot the VM, quarantine it, delete the VM, or not delete, but snapshot it, suspend it, so that you can get a very real state of when this maliciousness occurred, so you could do your forensics and analysis and see where this came from, what it was trying to do. And that is a really amazing ability that leverages the power of the virtual infrastructure to be able to do that, and leverages things like NSX to be able to quarantine or just seal off the network for things that have gone outside of what is known good. So again, I'll build out this slide. So this is kind of what's in at vSphere Platinum, and we'll kind of continue to build it up. So we have multiple levels now. So we have vSphere Platinum with our enterprise grade hypervisor suite of vSphere with App Defense built in. Then we move up to the VMware vCloud Suite Platinum, cloud management suite with App Defense built in. So this now moves it up to the cloud layer. And then VMware Cloud Foundation Platinum is the full stack. So that's our whole HCI infrastructure with all of this App Defense built into it as well. So we have multiple SKUs and multiple ways of acquiring this now, whereas we've announced vSphere Platinum, I think, last year at VMworld, so that you have the option when licensing to get App Defense as part of it as opposed to a bolt-on type service. So now we'll get into some more of the fun stuff. Not that security is not fun, but modern apps, right? So VMware Tanzu we announced at VMworld US. We continue to drive that story into VMworld EMEA. So what this really is a way to centrally manage these build and run and manage of dev services, right? So being able to build modern applications, cloud native, existing, run enterprise Kubernetes wherever on the edge of public cloud, multi-clouds, on-premises, and be able to actually manage it from both the developer standpoint and your IT standpoint as well, right? So you can be able to get different views and be able to manage this as its one entity, as it truly is, to get that full enterprise ready ability to deliver your applications across multiple clouds. Right, so when we delve more into the build modern applications, we have quite a few services in here. We harbor our Spinnaker, Bitnami, which we recently acquired. We have platform as a service for Kubernetes. So we have in that pivotal platform, we have a large amount of services that can be consumed individually or as a whole to really build your applications. And this is the kind of stuff that your developers are looking for. And as we continue to look forward, there's quite a lot of development in this space, right? So, but what we're trying to do here is kind of build on that any device, any app, any cloud type, model that we have, where yes, your developers could really be anywhere. They could be working in any kind of multiple format, whether that be virtual machines themselves or containers or reference architecture stuff that they're building to be able to deploy, and then onto any platform, right? So VMware on premises, AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle, IBM Cloud, number of other VCP partners, and a whole bunch of frameworks that are also built in and managed as part of Tanzu. Right, so it's really trying to add this, or not trying, but we are adding this entire suite and being able to run your applications where they make sense and then monitor them afterwards. Right, so Project Galleon, which is something that we announced, is really a word for our VMware Cloud Marketplace, which we talked about a little bit at the US as well, but again, we built it up at EMEA. So we have a customer curated catalog. So this is stuff that our partners can go in, and they have to be kind of vetted out, but it's available in our catalog to be able to be quickly provisioned, right? And then you can run that through a customization engine that can be driven by your IT organization with, custom agents or configurations or specific formats to then be able to deploy directly to any of these various platforms going forward, right? And we'll continue to add. This is actually not, a collaborative list. There's actually more beyond that. So it is really building that centralized place of just a marketplace. And you can think of other cloud providers have very similar offerings to this, where you could just click a button and you could get, a certain type of load balancer or a certain type of application that's pre-configured, deployed with your policies directly onto VMware Cloud and AWS, for example. So kind of starting to summarize some of the Tanzu stuff, is the key to really this is it's open source Kubernetes, right? It's open source cluster lifecycle management, open source container imagery register, but it's all supported by VMware. So this is, to me, is really the best of both worlds, right? So you get the open source flexibility of these fantastic tools, but you get support from us. So we can actually help you when certain issues arise, which has always been a very big point of contention and difficulty in the open source community. It's like, they have some great tools, but when I have some problems, I don't know where to go, or there is nowhere to go, every different open source has some guys modified the open source to make it custom, and now I can't get the features and functions are different. So this is all the open source stuff supported by us, which I think is a fantastic thing. And then we add on that layer of consistent operations, right? So we talked about this a little bit before, and Project Pacific was something we announced at VMworld US as well. I think we have a slide on this next, so we can go a little bit more into that. But whether it's running in vSphere, whether it's running on your edge or in a public cloud or bare metal, Tanzu can manage that all for you, right? So it can manage deployment to all of these, running them on all of these, depending on the type of application and perhaps, money and all those kinds of things and budgets and localities, right? So you really have a large amount of flexibility. So Project Pacific is where we have essentially merged the Kubernetes cluster type methodology with our vSphere cluster. We call it a vSphere supervisor cluster, which runs on top of our ESXi nodes and very natively. So when your customers or your developers are running and developing applications, whether that be, like I said, K8 or regular virtual machines or whatever they're doing, they run it with their tools and their visibility, which then runs on our infrastructure so that IT operator can see all of this and manage all of this, make sure it's secure, audited, looks at it's protected, all of those type of things. So it's a merging of both of those worlds in ways that are understood by both of those different groups. So we could definitely, get the same kind of product and get everybody onto the same page and really make enterprise services out of, what it can be the kind of wild west of development, but really put it into the enterprise. So we have some products kind of mentioned here. So Build, you could use Bitnami or Pivotal and Project Pacific. And could you, like I said, the management, the key part that we really want to emphasize is you got Kubernetes for developers and IT, right? So it's really the best of both worlds, not an either or. And again, we've talked about this a lot, but you could harden using multi-teams and operate it. Really day two operations, root cause analysis, all these kinds of things that are difficult in a lot of the public cloud and just pure open source kind of Kubernetes type of world. this brings that enterprise model around for it, right? So as we continue to move forward, we can see that we have a lot of identity and access. There's really cool things with security and configuration. You could do checksum type of operations on containers to ensure that what your developer has downloaded from, say, GitHub. Uh, Maybe you don't want that just running natively in environment. You want to have kind of some kind of signed type of application that is good, and this can handle all of that with all of our integrations, and plus Wavefront, Cloud Health, and NSX Service Mesh. So you have manageability, observability, cost analysis, hybridity across all of these environments, and it really is a fantastic world that we're coming into now, where both developers and IT are coming together to really deliver a fantastic solution to the business. And then we continue to build it up, right? So we have Kubernetes Graded, so we have VMware PKS, Project Pacific, Service Mesh. We mentioned a lot of these products, so we're able to now bring all of these together to deliver this developer type world to everybody. So now moving a little bit into more of the network security era. So really what we want to kind of show is that we have a complete solution, right? Whether it's kind of your data center and cloud platform, or whether it's SD-WAN or out to the edge, there is a lot of stuff that we're coming and bringing into this, including NSX distributed IDS, IPS. There's some fancy slides on that a little bit later. One of the big announcements we made this year as well is the acquisition of AVI Networks. We're continuing to further grow that into our solutions. Integrating with NSX, integrating with VMware Cloud on AWS, all of these types of things to, again, get that multi-cloud consistency, that on-demandness, and again, those analytics and that manageability and observability as you go forward. So one of these things we like to show here is this kind of was the traditional data center of old, as it were, right, where you have all of your servers on the left side, you get your networking row, and then you get your analytics row, and all of this traffic went, kind of every which way, which added a lot of latency to what you were doing. And I could just kind of continue to build that out. So what we first did is obviously we took some of the network stuff and the load balancers, and now we're moving that closer to the workloads, right onto the hypervisor. And then we take the firewall, right? Our DFW, our edges. And again, now we move that locally to the workloads. And then we continue to take stuff like the analytics engines, and now that's been moved. Sorry, I kind of screwed the animation, but that now has moved also closer to the workload, right? And some of these could be also applied to edge as well, right? Not just in your data center. And then we take the IDS and IPS, and also move that into the system, and now we have a fairly simple. Look at it. We've taken kind of half the racks out. All of that traffic is now, if it's local to the server, stays with the server, but it's still secure, right? It's still monitoring. It's still analyzed. It's still load balanced. But now you have a much better traffic flow, and it really simplifies your data center. And if you go one step further, we do this into the cloud. You don't even need any of that. So one of the new things we announced was this global federated manager. This is something that's continuing to come into it. So we call it a secure access service edge, right? So this is really your ability to now globally manage your DCs with one sense of security from a network perspective, right? One security stance. You can stretch zones across multiple data centers. The beauty of it, workloads can move from one data center to another data center and still have their security policies properly applied, which is a fantastic thing, again, for that hybridity of clouds, but ensuring your security estate is still good. And again, you can allow globally dispersed deployments, right? So you can get closer to your users while, again, managing that presence, keeping your security posture and your auditability. And we continue to build out with a secure access service edge, which has hundreds of POPs around the world that can do your SaaS service protection as well. So in summary, for the network and services part, a complete solution, ready to replace a lot of the existing pieces you have now, and fantastic network and security analysis with VNRI, Realized Network Insight, and NSX Intelligence, right, which is a product that is still being worked on and going to be publicly available soon. So we won't spend too much time on hybrid cloud infrastructure. I think most people have a very good understanding of where we've kind of gone with HCI. But what we wanted to kind of highlight here is we wanted to move along with what's kind of becoming new, right? So Project Hatchway actually kind of became vSound cloud native storage, right? So being able to do develop-based open sourced storage policy engines on our vSound platform, right? And Enterprise PKS Cloud Foundation is stuff that was new in 2019. And as we look at 2019 and beyond, we'll continue to drive to Project Pacific. So again, this is all stuff that could run on hybrid converged infrastructure today, right? We also want to say that we have VMware PKS on Cloud Foundation with the EMC. So now this is kind of that public cloud world on premises, right? So being able to deliver that flexibility, Kubernetes and stuff that was available in the cloud very easily, you can now deliver directly on the on-premises, save money. Perhaps you have compliancy reasons for these kinds of things, and incredibly secure, and able to kind of further move that HCI now from just being kind of about infrastructure to being about services on top of that infrastructure. So one of the flexible infrastructure options now is, so there is some, we have to kind of acknowledge our Dell partners and an EMC, where we're starting to do things around, even for HCI, is one of the bigger kind of issues that we kind of had was, the storage and compute scaled together. And if you got your sizing right, it was fantastic. It was difficult to get that sizing right. Traditionally people ran out of, storage before that they consumed all of the CPU and memory, or sometimes they consumed all the memory. Now you can be able to scale these independent and dynamically on the fly to be able to get more efficient usage of that hyper-converged infrastructure while still getting the benefits of being hyper-converged. So there's also a new model now. So this is kind of one of those funny things is we now have HCI as a service, right? So not only do you just kind of go buy this third partner and run it yourself, now VMware Cloud on Dell EMC, VMware Cloud on AWS, VMware Cloud on Dell EMC, I have it twice in there. So what we could do is you can lease these VMware Cloud on Dell EMC environments in one data center or another data center. I think that's what we're showing here. One's on the edge, edge devices, and have it all managed by VMware, right? So VMware manages all of the hardware, the maintenance, the updates, fixes to any of the hardware failures, all of those kinds of things is developed by VMware, but it can live within your data center. It can live on your edge devices. It can live in VMware Cloud and AWS. So we're kind of taking that hyper-converged up another level to even make it easier for everybody to consume and be able to run on the environment. And of course, this leverages our VMware Cloud Foundation as kind of the basics of what we do, right? So policy-based management, you could use vVols, all those kinds of things, if that's what you were looking to do. Talking a little bit about site recovery at vVols, so there is now ways with vVols, and for those who don't know what a vVol is, a virtual volume, which is something that's been around for quite a while. We announced it like 5 years ago, and it kind of was in development for a very long time. A lot of people forgot about it, but now what you can do is DR at a per VM granularity with a vVol. So that's like an external storage array, whereas traditionally you had to do it per volume, per data store, per LUN that you had on your data store that did the replication on the back end. Now with vVols, we could do that at a per VM layer, so you don't have to kind of worry about where all of the VM decays are for all of these applications and protect entire LUNs and replicate entire LUNs. So this is really actually a fantastic thing that's kind of been a little bit overlooked in the market, but it actually gives a significant amount of granularity while leveraging all of your fantastic storage replications on the back end. So this is really quite a revolution in how we're going to be able to do it. It's coming soon. We just announced it, like I said, at EMEA this week. So you can also now do DR to the cloud. This is something that again has been done for quite a while. We have some more announcements coming around this soon, but what we wanted to talk about here is replication to native cloud storage, right? So you could replicate with other to S3 and be able to do very low cost DR solutions. We have a lot of partners in this space that can assist in that. So enhanced operations. So we have what we're calling the multi-instance manager now. So this is, the ability to manage on-prem cloud SaaS, VMware Cloud SaaS. We're really trying to bring that all together as we understand people are living in a world now where applications are all over the place, and we're really trying to bring that hybrid management together to ease everybody's transition into that space. So moving a little bit into our area expertise, the VMware Cloud global presence. You can see here with our partnerships with our VMware Cloud provider partners and our big providers, AWS, Google, IBM. We have a pretty good coverage of the globe, and running 10 million plus workloads of the cloud today on the VMware, and this is going to continue to grow. So what's new for this? So this is actually, I thought there was an animation on the slide. I apologize. So this is probably one of the biggest announcements, and we kind of slipped it in there. And I think it's because of the topic at hand. But so we now have VMware Cloud Director Service. And you'll excuse me if I'll probably continue to call this vCloud Director Service, right? So this is essentially what this is, right? So this is a shared service where you can now run VMware vCloud Director. So if you're a VICP partner or part of certain hyperscaler clouds, you can run VMware Cloud Director Service, apologies, on top of these infrastructures to chop them up even more. So, if you're a if you're a partner and you have a lot of customers, but we have a lot of very small customers, and they can't quite justify the purchase of 3 hosts of VMware Cloud on AWS, but they really kind of want to leverage that. This is their ability to do it. They can come to a partner. A partner can have a fairly large estate, right? Get the usage, get the benefits of having a larger fault domain and better, more ability to position resources for better functionality and better performance, but be able to carve up small little pieces for whatever customer that they have. For those that aren't familiar with vCloud Director, it was built as from its foundations as a multi-tenant solution to be able to abstract the physical resources into virtual data centers, we call them, or organizational data centers, to be able to right-size it for an environment and be able to kind of grow it as the customer goes without them having to front the heavy bill of the first to kind of purchase into VMware Cloud on AWS. Or other cloud providers, IBM Cloud and Azure, to be able to really get a any size type environment. And it's really great for partners to be able to offer this service so that they could, again, get really granular and really make a very effective use of their purchase on the back end, depending on how much risk that they want to offer around some more subscriptions and stuff like that. But the risk is sort of very much mitigated because in VMware Cloud and AWS and a lot of these other clouds, you can scale on demand. So you can do levels of over subscription and then be able to scale very, very quickly if need be. So like I said, this was kind of just slipped in as part of one of the talks, and to me, this is really great. I'm a big vCloud Director guy from way back when, and this is something that I think is fantastic, and the product that never seems to kind of go away, as it is a fantastic product, but to continually develop. So this is something that's available to partners, and as customers, reach out to your partners and see if this solution works for you. So discussing some of our global reach now on VMware Cloud and AWS. So we started with our 5 there. Then we've quickly added over the course of the year several more, just recently in Stockholm. And in the next year or so, we look to be in Hong Kong, Osaka, Bahrain, Beijing, EMEA, China. Some complexities around some of the China regions around compliances and government regulations. But we're continuing to expand, and we will be in every AWS data center very shortly, so you'll be able to deliver your applications wherever is required. So what's new in here? So again, we talked about the Cloud Director. Is that what we're calling it, Cloud Director? I guess it's just VMware Cloud Director. Multi-support tendency for our managed service providers and our partners. New OS-assisted migration for non-vSphere workloads. So this is stuff around Kubernetes or other, not Kubernetes, sorry, but like Hyper-V workloads or other type of hypervisors, and be able to move those between clouds easily and efficiently without having to do a whole bunch of refactoring. And we have lowered the price of stretch clusters as well for those that have looked into our multi-AZ clusters. There is a premium for a multi-AZ cluster over and above kind of the number of hosts required. We have reduced that to make it more economical for people to consume to get those higher levels of availability. We have new cost analysis with Cloud Health Hybrid. New PKI support. Project Pacific is very much coming, and that will be offered in all of our clouds as well. And we are further integrating with AWS services around the transit gateways. So when you kind of look at what we're looking at, and we have a kind of a VMware Cloud Verified moniker now, to be able to show what we have available. So we announced at Microsoft Azure, I believe it was a Dell Technology World last year. New is support for HCX to move workloads back and forth between the two. This is available in I think 3 data centers, 2 in US and 1 in Europe now. APJ is coming in Q4. We also have VMware solutions on Google Cloud. Right, again, this is a partner-driven thing through Cloud Simple. Its beta is looking to go live here very shortly, with a GA looking to be in early in the new year. And we announced, well, I guess Oracle, kind of announced this at Oracle Open World, of running VMware on Oracle Cloud as well. So as you can see, we continue to make our way into the cloud, the big public cloud, hyperscaler worlds, and we'll continue to add this. But the basic thing is you get that VMware Cloud Verified sticker on it. It means your vSphere workload, your VM that runs on-premise today will run in any of these clouds without any kind of modification, which is a fantastic thing. And you're leveraging things like HCX. You can move back and forth between them to get the best use, the best locality, the best cost, right? So this is really opening up that what we used to call hybrid cloud, and to some degree still call hybrid cloud, but it's really moving into more of a multi-cloud, hybrid cloud type of world. And we're continuing to do this through things, with out-of-the-box integration. We're really trying to make it as easy to just get it up out of the box. SaaS offerings to really just make the world easier for everyone to consume and just get up and running without having to worry about, getting all the versions installed correctly and all those kinds of things. It's just right out of the box, catalogs to deploy different services, and just continuing to just drive that ease for both a developer and IT consumption type of use place. So when you start to leverage this again, and I know I've been harping on this a lot, but it is really quite a fantastic world, whereas we have things like, your line of business user that just goes into a service broker type thing and a catalog in Benami or whatever, and your developer can go and develop in Cloud Assembly or some of their other native tools, build all these catalogs and blueprints and get all this organization pipeline, and then with an API be able to deploy it wherever that they want to and wherever they need to deploy this application. And again, deploying is actually to some degree the easy part. And I know there's a lot of stuff that goes behind that, but that everybody kind of has a solution for that. We have a solution for that. We have a very good solution for that. But where the real amazing parts of this come in is the ability to then monitor it afterwards and automate some of the day two operations around the applications and infrastructure to really, again, drive the enterprise level to these applications, leveraging tools. You can see here Wavefront, VROps, and VNRI or Network Inside Cloud to be able to really, like I said, um, bring the holistic solution across the board, and to again use it very easily with all of the integrations that are inbuilt to be able to scale, manage, and secure. So we'll move along from there was a demo, but we'll show it here. We could definitely go into that another time. But essentially, you can deploy, monitor all of your applications, and then be able to scale very easily on demand, even to other different clouds. Right. So this is something that again we're really embracing the multi-cloud world to work towards really being able to develop the best of breed and most cost-effective solutions to your customers. So I won't spend too much time here. I just some highlights here is there is some renaming. I've probably been calling some things fairly wrong. So it's now vRealize Log Insight Cloud as opposed to what it was Log Intelligence. vRealize Network Insight Cloud as opposed to Network Insight. So we're trying to simplify some of our marketing and naming so that it's something very easy to consume. vRealize Operations Cloud was a new announcement that we made. So this is able to run vRealize Operations as a SaaS service, and we'll be able to continue to drive on that. Sorry, I got a question here. With VMware on AWS, will there be a way for consumers to deploy VMware templates through our AWS portal in the future? Azure is offering a similar functionality with their offering. Yes, Joseph, that's something that is being worked on. I believe there is actually some VMware services already existing in the AWS portal, but we're continuing to drive those integrations as we continue to move forward. So, yes, look for those in the future. And again, we also have our own kind of marketplaces that could deploy everywhere as well. So there's a lot of initiatives there to try to ease how you could deploy things from a templated standpoint in the future. So that's definitely something that's coming. Yes. And one of the things, cost governance, cloud health, Wavefront is fantastic. We've done a webinar on Wavefront. I highly recommend everybody watching that on YouTube. It is absolutely, fantastic product that I can't give justice. And we've continued to build out the vRealize automation suite as well. We kind of called this CAS for a while, Cloud Automation Services. Now it's vRealize Automation. And vRealize Automation Cloud, so which have become, as of VRA 8 and VAC, it is now kind of the same. It's now not kind of. It's now the same code base, just different methods of delivering it. So again, we really want to highlight a lot of the key management is around driving a lot of monitoring and management of a multi-cloud world, right? So Log Insight Cloud, we've had some enhancements around how we've packaged it, so there's a lot more available for free. There's a lot more content packs now. Continue to drive on that. Network Insight is an extremely valuable tool when you're in a cloud world. Highly recommended people check that out. But we have new assessments for SD-WAN, new support for some hardware VTAPs, enhanced support for VMC, and we continue to develop and drive that as well. Again, we announced, and it's now in beta, vRealize Operations Cloud. So, again, this is just another SaaS offering. So, as opposed to worrying about installing and managing and building out and sizing all of your own vRealize Operations environment, which I know has been somewhat of a complex in the past, now you can just do it as a SaaS offering and take all that complexity out of it. Project Magna is something that's still coming. We're not quite at feature parity between VROps and VROps Cloud. This is where we're trying to drive things together, and we're looking at a beta release sometime in RQ4, which is coming up here very shortly. And in vRealize Automation Cloud, again, we continue to develop on this, in parallel with our VMware Cloud Director, to give kind of different use cases there. But we really want one platform for vRealize Automation, whether it be the cloud or the on-prem version, and be able to have that ease of use and inbuilt Kubernetes functionality as well. And we talked about this. I talked about this a little bit already, but VMware Cloud Automation for hybrid cloud is really, it's really to build out these policies and be able to make really easy blueprints that work across multiple clouds, right? So everybody consume, native services as well through a lot of the integrations and workflows that we have to be able to continuously really make a very rigid, not rigid, but I guess rigid but flexible, if that's possible, to be able to, design a lot of both flexible services, but in a way that's an enterprise stamped template for your consumers and your developers to be able to readily consume and easily consume, and know that they're doing it in a secure fashion and in a corporate manner, right? And then be able to deploy that, whether that be on premises, on the edge, in a VCPP partner, on VMC, or any other public cloud, right? So that is really what we're trying to work towards, is being able to really get that enterprise ability. And I know I keep saying that a lot, but that's a very big thing that VMware is very good at, and that we bring as a differentiator to the market, while allowing the flexibility of developer tools. All right, so I talked a lot about this. So VMware Cloud Automation is actually broken into kind of 3 different products: the Service Broker, CodeStream, Cloud Assembly. You have policies that run across all of those, and you can have different personas using different pieces of this to really build a holistic solution. So, some of the use cases here, what we show is around, I talked about this a lot, right? So hybrid cloud service delivery out of the box, public cloud experience, right? So right out of the box, especially the SaaS offering, you're ready to go like every other cloud. Multi-cloud automation, deliver those, and run, native Kubernetes stuff right out of the box. So we talked about this quite a bit already. We're also talking, one of the other announcements we made was around Product Path, which is in text preview. It's a unified SaaS solution. They'll simplify the operations delivery for MSP providers on their clouds or other VCPP clouds, and VMware Cloud on AWS. So it's a way of centralizing and really making it easier for our cloud providers, especially with the VMware Cloud Director service, to be able to get a more holistic, view in what their customers are doing and what their customers are utilizing. So we do really value our partners and our partner relationships. So we're continuing to drive as many tools as we can to assist them going forward. All right, we talked about VMware Cloud Director, the new Bitnami Marketplace, HCX for VCPP, the vCloud Director Service, and Cloud Health, Cloud Assembly models for MSPs. So again, some of these are in tech preview now or in early betas. But again, we're really buying full into our commitment to our partners, and really, we understand that in some cases we have, disparate views across a lot of our products, and it makes it a little bit difficult, especially with those MSPs that have multiple customers running across our products that they're managing for their customers, and we really want to give them a much easier way and efficient way of monitoring that to go forward. So again, I am a massive fan of our partner community. I continue to drive as much as I can on our side to be true partners with our partners and enable them to sell our products. Not just enable them to sell our products, but really to have them to be advocates of our products, because we are delivering to them and providing them the best value that they can provide to their customers. So that is a very important thing for myself and for the company. And with that, thank you for coming out and watching this. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an interview of some of the stuff we announced at VMworld Europe. Sorry, my little sleep deprived still coming back from there. If there's any questions, now is a great time as well. There was one in here around the content libraries. So something around, we do have some fancy stuff coming for content libraries, even with integrations with other storage providers. So there is definitely, and I apologize that it took so long to get around to this, Ronan, but there are some pretty cool things coming around the content library to be able to share more image type things with different storage solutions at the back end. I'll put it that way. There's not too much more I can comment on there as a pretty roadmap heavy, but it is definitely something that we've recognized and want to be able to give that flexibility to our other customers to be able to do things like that. So I don't see any questions coming in. So I think unless people are typing, you can always reach me at vcloudmatt on Twitter. Email us at cloudcs@vmware.com. Again, I really do appreciate everybody's time here, and hopefully there's some exciting announcements. There weren't a lot of super major announcements in EMEA this year, but there were, to me, some very big ones that were kind of snuck in there around, particularly around security and our VMware Cloud Director service. So thank you very much. Look forward to seeing everybody. We have our office hours again next week. In a couple more weeks, we'll have another webinar. And again, thank you everybody for your time.